to be effective on July 1st, 2021. Are there any members of the public who are present wish to speak? Are there any comments that we received from the public that need to be read into the record allowed for the public hearing?
No comments received, Chairman.
No comments. Please say we give it another 30 seconds. We'll give them a full minute. Is that fair?
Yep. And
Although
just-
it's unlikely that anybody would have any complaints about no increase.
Correct. Just for everybody's information, there is a copy of the legal notice as item 1 in the board package. And like the chairman already said, it's a 0% increase for fiscal year 21-22. And we are also waiving the registration fee for industrial and food establishments.
Can you hear me, Mr. Chairman?
I can.
Okay, I was struggling with my mute button. I couldn't find the damn thing, but I'm okay now.
You got it.
Thank
Loud
you.
and clear. It is 5:31. Do we need a motion to close the public hearing?
I have one question. When do we get the pizza?
A motion to close the public hearing.
Mr.
That's a
Igneri? All in favor, show of hands, or Mr. Keegan,
Aye.
yes, Bovee, yes, Clark, yes, Flynn, yes. That is, and Osterfine, yes, that's unanimous. Okay, the public hearing is closed. Call the meeting to order. It is 5:32 PM. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes held on February 16th, 2021?
So moved.
By Mr. McNary. Are there any comments, questions, or corrections? I found none. Oh, Mr. Terranites is with us. Thank you.
Hello, everyone.
Hi there. I'm not hearing any questions or comments or corrections. I assume that means we're ready to call the question. All in favor of approving the meeting minutes of February 16th, say aye.
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 Keegan, Bovee, Osterfine,
Aye, Flynn.
Clark, Flynn, Terranites, Igneri. Thank you. That's unanimous too. Number 4, approve the sewer user rates to be effective July 1st, 2021. Is there a motion to approve the user fees by Mr.
So moved.
Bovee?
Mr. Bovee.
Mr. Bovee is the first. Are there any further comments from staff? Are there any questions from the board? Are there any members of the public present that wish to be heard? I'll ask again for the record. Were there any comments received from the public? All in favor of accepting as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
Keegan, Bovee, Osterfine,
Aye.
Clark, Flynn, Terranites, Igneri. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Number 5, approve the proposed 21-22 operating budget. Can we do these together, Ralph?
There's actually going to be some discussion for item 5 with the operating budget.
You want to do them separate? Okay, is there a motion to approve the operating budget? By Mr.
I'd make
Igneri.
that motion, please.
Mr. Igneri beat everybody. Any comments from staff?
Yes, sir. Included in the board package are multiple items for item 5, the operating budget. First, there's a March 11th, 2021 memo to the board about our financial model. That's also attached. And then, of course, the 2-page, the revenue and expenditure pages for the operating budget. Basically, the memo describes our financial model, which it's small font in the board package. But what we did is we looked at, based on the current fiscal year 2021, we did a 5-year forecast. And we looked at anticipated revenue, expenditures over that time period, along with capital monies that are currently have been approved over the past few years, based on anticipated spending or the cash flow for those capital expenditures. And then also future capital expenditure requests that are to be made. So what the 5-year looks at, after putting all that information in, we started, actually our opening fund balance is just over $18 million for the WPCA. So financially, we have, significant funds in the fund balance. At the same time, the CFO for the city bonded in September of 2020 of approximately $18.5 million in new bonds to fund capital projects. Interest rates are low. He actually attended the board meeting back in September, mentioned it to the board. So the city took advantage of the low interest rates long-term to bond in for all the capital monies that we're looking to spend over the next few years. The other item that I want to point out in the financial model is we're receiving nitrogen credits for 2020. Right now, we don't know exactly what the credit sharing will be from the state, but this 2020 was an all-time best for the city of Norwalk. I believe we estimated $525,000 in revenue, and I think it's somewhat conservative. I think we are going to receive probably a little bit more, but I tried to be a little bit conservative than to be over aggressive with that number. Since Suez has done such a good job, there is a 25% cost sharing with the Suez team that would, once we receive payment, they could then bill the WPCA for that cost sharing for the contract. So 2020 was a really good year, going back to nitrogen credits, and we're looking forward to 2021 with nitrogen as well. Table 1 or second page of the memo, it just gives a breakdown for fiscal year 21-22 through fiscal year 25-26, projected rate increases. We're looking at, obviously, the board just approved 0% this fiscal year forthcoming, and then we anticipate about 2% each year thereafter. We identify projected revenues for each of the 5 years, projected operating expenses, capital expenditures that we anticipate, and then operating cash. And our target is to maintain at least 180 days of operating budget. Our operating budget proposed for fiscal year 21-22 is just under 18.5 million.
You done, Ralph?
I'm just trying to see if there's anything I really need to call out.
Take your
as
time.
far
There
as-
was a pause. I thought you were done.
As far as the operating budget each year, the WPCA bills the city a interdepartment fee for services that staff or Suez performs. For example, part of my salary gets reimbursed back from the city because I participate with stormwater activities for the city, along with Chris and Shapem. Suez actually operates 3 stormwater pump stations, so we back bill the city. This year, it's, let me find the number. Let's see. Oh, there it is. It's just over $115,000. And then on the expenditure side, since the city provides billing services for sewer billing, DPW services, and other finance department services, the the fee that the city, or it's actually calculation by finance. It's just around 638,000 that would be billed to the WPCA for their services. Bonding this year, because of the $18.5 million bonded by the CFO, we do anticipate in future years that the principal and the interest will increase. So we'll see that when we do the operating budget next year. So if anybody has any specific questions.
Anybody have any questions? I don't want to stretch this out, but I do have one question. I did read the 180 days, as you just mentioned. And I'm wondering, if we have 18.5 million and 18.5 million is our operating cost, it's kind of like a moving target, right? We're going to take money in and we're going to have, is that how we justify? I mean, we have a year's worth, but we're spending it as we go for the year, right?
Correct.
So we must also be taking in money like 6 months worth. Is that correct?
Yes, and actually to fund the fund balance, we actually are going to be putting in about $3 million back into replacement reserve, and then ultimately to the fund balance. So that's based off revenues received minus actual expenditures.
Okay, so you say 3 million, but we're looking for 9 million for the year, right?
That's the minimum. To back up for a second. So what the goal of the fund balance is not to go below $9 million based
Okay.
on days. So right now we're at 18 million. So we're twice our goal.
Okay, gotcha. So as we go through the year, we're going to be replenishing what we spend through user fees or, okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Correct.
Does anybody else have any questions? No? Okay. So we have a motion on the floor. I guess we'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, Keegan,
Aye.
Bovee, Ostafine, Clark, Flynn, Terranites, Igneri. That's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, number 6, approve FY 21-22 capital. Is there a motion to approve the capital budget for 2021-22? Quick,
So moved.
Mr. Keegan. Ralph, any comment from staff?
We presented this a couple of times in draft form to the board. We're asking for $1 million in collection and pump station monies for fiscal year 21-22.
What does that mean? Where does it come from?
So it ultimately comes from the WPCA's finances, but through the city approval process, there's multiple committees that the WPCA staff have to attend and request funding. So basically, from the operating and then ultimately the fund balance, those $2 million that we're requesting, capital accounts would be generated, and that money would be made available to allocate to capital projects for collections or pump stations.
Okay. Does some of that money possibly come out of the bonding that we talked about earlier?
That is correct.
Yes, okay. Thanks. Does anybody else have any questions? No? No questions. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Keegan, Bovee, Ostafine, Clark, Flynn, Terranites, Igneri. Thank you. Unanimous. No abstentions. No opposed. Number 7, Is there a motion to authorize the chairman or vice chairman of the Water Pollution Control Authority to execute an amendment to the January 27, 2016 agreement with Ray Pierce in the amount of $350,000 and extend the terms of agreement by 3 years to provide additional on-call professional engineering services? Copy attached.
So moved.
Mr. Igneri. Comments from staff?
Yes. So included in the board package is a letter dated March 11th, 2021 from Wright Pierce. And basically the current contract that we have with them technically expired in January of 2021. However, the work is still ongoing. So there is language in the contract to keep it open-ended. What we're requesting is a 3-year extension along with $350,000 for additional services related to construction phase of what we're calling the Comprehensive Pump Station Improvement Project, which consists of 4 pump stations that are out to bid now. We're doing we just put out to bid today a sewer improvement project on Belden Avenue. So that would be construction services there as well. And then additional design bidding services and future construction phase services for the Keeler Brook Pump Station improvement project. Currently, that's at 100% design. We're continuing to work with Eversource, and we'll talk about it momentarily. But basically, city staff has been very pleased with Wright Pierce. We have solid rates with them. They do excellent work, and we want to continue the relationship with multiple projects that we have currently ongoing and in the future.
Any questions of staff on this matter? No? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Keegan, Bovee, Ostafine, Clark, Flynn, Terranites, Igneri, unanimous, no abstentions, no opposed. Approved. Item number 8, is there a motion to approve the expenditure of $5,391.10 to the state DOT, in accordance with the letter dated February 26, 2021, copy enclosed? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Igneri, sorry. Okay, staff?
Yes. So we did this once before for the new sanitary sewer that went in at Osborne. This is for the East Avenue cost, basically reimbursement. So state's moving forward with the project. And this is our depreciation that's due from the city back to the state. So the state is fully funding the replacement of the sanitary sewer on East Avenue. And then what they do is, just because it's an asset, they look at the depreciation value, which was calculated based on Lochner, our consultant for the project. And it was determined to be $5,391.10. And the state has invoiced the Wpca for that amount. I didn't want to just cut a check or approve the process, the invoice, without having board approval.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, and Ralph, just to clarify too, this is for the sanitary sewer upgrades on Osborne Avenue, correct?
This one's actually for East Avenue.
I'm sorry, East Avenue, East Avenue. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yep.
And this is the one, and we negotiated this with the DOT. If this was the one also too, where they didn't anticipate, they wanted to keep the existing sanitary sewer intact, and we pushed for the replacement.
Correct. Correct.
Right. So that just to give the board a little bit of background, as part of the Walk Bridge program, ConDOT, more so their engineers were basically saying that, hey, look, we're going to be doing work down the street, but your sewer is not going to be impacted. We said, well, we don't really believe that, and we don't really trust that to be the case, especially since that sewer in that area is from the 1900s, correct, Ralph?
And you don't have the exact date, but it's close to it.
Almost 100 years old. So whether it's 80 or 120, it's still very old pipe. And with the construction, we all know the vibration, the rollers, the heavy equipment. Oftentimes, whether it's a water main or a sewer main, those problems often go undetected, and then you're dealing with them some period later, usually during a holiday or at night, when things are most inconvenient, as we all know. And I'm sure we'll have our experiences with that. But yeah, that's the genesis of this request, is that originally they came in with one estimate, they being Condot. They realized that the actual work was going to be a little bit higher, so we have to pay them to complete this work. But this is something that we negotiated with Condot, and they were not receptive at first, but after a little bit of heckling and collaboration, we were able to get the entire sanitary sewer main replaced down the street for a certain portion of it. Ralph, do you know the limits of the replacement?
That information I don't have readily available. I believe it's on East Avenue. It's going to be from 4 Point down to
What was it?
south of the railroad tracks.
Right.
What's that restaurant?
Station House? Yeah.
Correct.
So,
$5,000 is the deal of the century.
right, and that's above that, and Ralph, that's up $5,300 above the original estimate, correct? Because the estimated cost,
No, what actually, this is the
That's the
depreciation value of the
I'm
asset.
sorry, they have that formula, right? They have that
Correct.
funky formula.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was it, when you said Lochner developed this, was Lochner working for the DOT or for us?
Working for the city and WPCA.
Okay. And, but as Mr. Carr said, they accepted the number.
Correct.
It's a great number. Any other comments or questions from staff, or, I mean, from the board?
No.
No? More comments from the staff? No?
There still will be, there's going to be a 4 Point bridge that's replaced, and we're continuing to negotiate with DOT now with the sanitary sewer main that goes underneath. And that should be it as far as the walk bridge impact on our sewers, at least at the moment.
Okay. Motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Keegan, Bovee, Ostafine, Clark, Flynn, Terranites, Igneri. That's unanimous. None opposed, no abstentions. Thank you. That concludes the business portion. We're into number 9, contract operation reports.
Sir, before we go into that section, could I ask Ralph a question about the engineering services he was talking about in the earlier?
Right, Pierce,
Yeah,
350,000.
no, the engineering services where we kept the engineer on for 3 years.
Yeah, that's right, Pierce. That's 350,000.
Yeah, is that the normal procedure where we're having a satisfactory agreement with the engineering staff? Or is it just more convenient than getting somebody else in the bid?
We're actually we'll be under construction shortly on one of the pump station design projects that they designed. It's out to bid, and bids are due March 18th. And shortly, we're going to be going out with another big project with Wright Pierce. So this is, in order to see these projects from start to finish, we're going to need the 3-year window to close them out with the existing consultant.
Right, okay, I don't think that was clear, but I do understand that now. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other comments? Questions? Mr. Marcin?
Hey, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
Okay, great.
nice mic.
Thank you. I'm actually remote tonight, but it's good to see everyone. So February was a challenging month, but we did get an awful lot done. We had couple of weather events which made things tricky, and then we had a number of things that happened at the plant and the pump station that I'll talk about. But we were able to fully transition out of level 3 and into our severity level 2, which means we were back at full staff with all of our teams. And as of probably almost a month now, we've had 0 employees that have been either positive or out on quarantine. So we're back to full forces, and we're ready to really start making some good progress. We had a process upset that we experienced in late February that was a tricky one, but was really a good example of our team working together to solve a complex problem. We had a failure of one of the sodium bisulfite pipes, which is the dechlorination systems on one of the pumps that fed the 002 outfall. And because it went to the 002, it was relatively undetected because the 002 isn't activated, and it got mixed with some other water and ultimately got recycled back to the head of the plant. Again, relatively undetected from our normal inspections. That bisulfite making its way back through the process train resulted in some challenges with our mixed liquor, and we also had a bacteria and chlorine residual issue. Think about it, this is a dechlorination agent. What it does is suck up oxygen. That's what it's intended to do, but when you put it in the front of the plant, it sucks the oxygen up and competes with the bugs, and then it also competes with the chlorination system that's trying to add chlorine. So it was a challenging situation, but we were able to get to the bottom of it very quickly, working together with the city. And although we did have some exceedances, we were able to mitigate that to a daily exceedance for bacteria on the 19th, and then a daily exceedance for chlorine residual on the 22nd. And the plant is back to stable condition, or was shortly after the event. And we did see some nitrification inhibition as well. I'll talk about that a little bit later, but we're still looking really good for the month and for the year. As I mentioned, there were 3 permit exceedances. Those all were also related to contract exceedances in our contract. So Ralph and I will calculate those and include those in the invoice. We also had another major event during the month where we had a failure of a 24-inch gravity sewer main on Orchard Avenue. And this was, again, a great combined effort with the city staff, and our subcontractors, and the police department too. It was very helpful. And we were able to identify basically a complete collapse of the top of the 24-inch pipe that created a sinkhole and then led to a long repair effort. I do have a few pictures of this. I thought Ralph and I thought this would be a good visual for the board this month. So if it's all right, I'd like to share my screen, if I can do that.
IT guys still with us?
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, you can give it a try now.
All right. So if you can see this, this is how the incident first appeared, and it was first reported, I believe, by DPW crews as a sinkhole on Orchard Ave. And you can see it's really close to the manhole right in the center of the street. Upon investigation and looking into that sinkhole, you can see there was flowing wastewater going through basically a channel from one pipe to the other pipe. The bottom of the pipe was completely intact, so there was no significant SSO or overflow, but the top of the pipe was completely gone and needed repair. Here's a view after excavation, and you can see what you're looking at is the bottom of the pipe, and then you can see the complete top is gone and the wastewater is just flowing through an open trough. Remember, this is a 24-inch pipe, so it's a pretty big pipe. Here's the beginnings of the repairs. So they actually had to build up a wall on the sides with center blocks to create structure to put in a patch piece of pipe. Here's the crews actually putting in one of the splice pieces to repair the broken section. And there's the section completed with all the couplings, and then begin to backfill. And that's the final fill in and hot patch.
Nicely done, very nicely done. Nice, good photographs.
Good. I'm glad you guys enjoy them, and I'll make sure we get more of them to you in the future. But that was quite a job, and teams were able to get it done quickly, and everybody helped and chipped in. So nice work by everyone.
Bravo on no SSO. Don't know how you did it.
Well, it wasn't no SSO. We did. It was minimal though. I think it was 500 gallons we reported, which is pretty small quantity. So I'm sorry if I.
Yeah, it would have been millions with the total blockage.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
right? Six
Yeah.
figures easily.
Yeah.
Okay, so we lucked out there, and the only way that happened was because this thing happened over such a long time. All the stuff on the top went away as the top failed. It didn't create a total blockage. So that means that for this thing to keep working, the top was gone, and also all the material on top of the pipe, which would have blocked the pipe and caused a 1,000,000-gallon SSO, went away downstream, which means you guys have some cleaning to do downstream. And it also
absolutely.
means that you have probably a serious problem in the rest of that pipe. I'm gonna guess hydrogen sulfide ate the top out? No? Ralph is shaking his head no.
No, I don't want to take John's thunder, but it's 1880s concrete pipe. It's 1.5 inches thick, and there's no rebar or mesh wire in the pipe. So actually Eversource had done some work not too long ago, and they didn't hit our pipe, but just enough to disturb the ground, change the conditions, and the pipe, the top of the pipe failed.
Okay, I'm still gonna say what I was gonna say, but thank you. Is this a candidate for lining? I didn't see a Fernco on both sides of that pipe. You still have a pipe that doesn't have any reinforcing in it. Lining it would take care of, did you concrete encase the joints?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Eh,
okay.
but
So that's.
John-
We're
probably-
gonna line it. Lining
Yeah.
is the next step. Yep.
Okay,
Green,
And
Green Mountain was actually out there, right as the team was finishing the work, taking a look at it, because it is a complex, it's not a perfectly 24-inch pipe. It's an egg, more of an egg shape.
Yeah.
yeah,
And what
it looked like it had a V in the bottom.
Yeah.
Yes, and
Yeah.
as the pipe goes from, this was at 44 Orchard Street towards Harbor, the pipe drops 11 feet. So they have these 3 or 5 foot sections of pipe, kind of staggered, and it drops 11 feet. So we're looking, I've
that is
asked the
complex.
Suez team to have Green Mountain give us pricing to line from Quincy all the way down to the West Side Interceptor along the river. And the reason why I stopped at Quincy, that's where 8-10 years ago, we had replaced a good portion of the pipe all the way to West Avenue with 24-inch PVC. So this work would basically rehabilitate the entire length of pipe on Orchard Street.
Gotta
Ralph,
have some laterals, right?
Pardon?
Gotta
Sorry.
have some laterals in there?
Yes.
Okay, but you'll deal with it. I'm
That's
sorry, what
about
did I miss?
that's about 650 linear feet, Mr. Chairman, from Quincy all the way down to east of Harbor. And like Ralph said too,
Wow.
and you see from the pictures, the pipe was an old makeshift pipe with brick and block, and it's an egg shape. So the Green Mountain, I believe, met on site last Monday, Ralph. The prior Monday, last week,
Or
Yeah.
actually 2 weeks ago, I believe.
two Mondays ago,
Yes.
to investigate and obviously do the camera inspection, because the liner will have to be specific and custom fabricated to meet the pipe dimensions.
Yes.
So it is a known problem. And I think that at the end of the day, we only actually replaced what, Ralph, a 10 to 12 foot section of new pipe.
About 10 feet, correct.
Right. And like you said, Mr. Chairman, the joints were encased in concrete, backfilled. We did not use flowable fill, which initially we thought we would have to use. For those who don't know, the flowable fill is like liquid concrete. It basically finds the crevices, the crevices and the cavities in the pavement. So that if you do have a sinkhole, sometimes you can't see how far or the extent of the sinkhole. So you don't know what part of the pavement's been damaged or undermined in some applications. With this one, we were able to clearly identify where the limits of the undermining was. So we were comfortable using traditional item 4, crushed stone, whatever you want to call it, as backfill material. So we were going to use the K-Crete or the flowable fill, but the undermining wasn't as bad as originally anticipated. And we can clearly identify where the limits were. So obviously that was our highest priority, because, if you're off and you have hollow pavement underneath, you could run into some serious safety and welfare issues. So Ralph and Suez and DPW operations did a fantastic job. But yeah, 650 linear feet lining job, a 10-foot pipe replacement. And then there was minimal CSO or SSO, excuse me.
It's a miracle.
Yeah.
I don't want to tell anybody how to do their job. I just throw it out there. It does seem that what Ralph said is very true. Extremely complex. You're going from an egg-shaped pipe to a round pipe and back to an egg-shaped pipe. I've never seen a liner like that in my life. Please bring back to us how you solve the problem. It seems like you might need a manhole. You know, it would be nice to put a manhole right where that 24-inch pipe is, and you got an egg coming in and an egg going out. It might be, you might end up being easier for you. I know you guys will figure it out. I'm very interested to see what you end up doing.
But we've actually, on Wall and Knight Street, we actually had different diameter pipes. And when they pulled the sock for the lining sock through, impregnated with the epoxy, it was very specific. That's why they have specific measurements. So that way we could line the smaller section of pipe with the bigger sections upstream and downstream. So Green Mountain is capable of doing it. It's just they got to have perfect measurements. The sock has to be fabricated, so when you pull it through, it lines up with the proper sizing.
Okay.
We'll make sure we run the camera after the lining goes in though too, so you can see how it contours and fits that space.
We'll do the
should be
before and
interesting.
after.
Exactly.
Well, if you do it right, it's going to outlive all of us.
Absolutely. Yeah, I guess just, like Anthony said, it was a great coordinated effort. And I think we were very, very fortunate too, that we didn't have any kind of car drive into that or have any kind of injury or someone from the public. The DPW found it. The police got that street shut down in a matter of minutes, and our team was there to diagnose the problem. So good job all around. Great.
Very, very lucky. Very, very good job.
Yes.
And I can
And
tell
Mr.
you,
Chairman, there was no interruption to service, which is obviously no
Right.
SSO, very little, I'll call it de minimis
Amazing.
SSO, but no interruption to service. And the minute there's an interruption with even one house,
it's a
phone ring.
catastrophe. Yeah,
Right.
that's the real catastrophe.
right?
We did learn
I-
that for a small side road, it's a major cut through though. There was a lot of people that go through that street. So.
You're lucky you didn't lose a car.
Thank
I'll just
God.
mention Ralph will remember. I don't think anybody else. This came up once before. I think it was down near the drawbridge someplace. The hole was big enough a Volkswagen could fit in it. And they found it. There was no sinkhole. When they did TVing, the top of the pipe was gone. They looked up and saw the bottom of the pavement. I don't know how that, yeah, that.
Wow.
So this is close to that.
This was
Close
on
to being that amazing.
Darren, what you're mentioning was on Seaview Avenue, down by, I think, Betts Brook area. And what it was 6 inches of concrete underneath the asphalt, and that created the bridge so that no vehicles went and fell into the hole. But the hole was large enough to fit a school bus.
I thought it was a Volkswagen. It was a school bus.
Wow.
A Volkswagen
And we-
school bus.
And
We got lucky twice, guys. Twice.
we did use flowable fill in that circumstance due to, we didn't want to expose everything.
When you're doing your TV work, Mr. Marcin, look up. Worth looking up.
We always do. Excellent. All right. Does anyone have any other questions about that? All right, I'll finish up. With all that stuff going on in the short month and the weather, we had a couple nice storms in February too. We had a little trouble getting our monthly mileage. We were able to get 1 mile of sewer cleaning done and about a half a mile of TV inspection and close to a mile of SL rat though. But got all our crews back now, and we'll be making good progress on those numbers, especially with the better weather, hopefully coming soon. The centrifuge continues to run well, finishing up electrical and masonry connections. We're building the brick walls to isolate the room, and our odor control scrubbers are scheduled for delivery at the end of March. So we're hopeful that first April enjoy making the curve at the wastewater treatment plant. 'cause things will smell good. Another good thing, we were able to resume the IPP program in February. So our tech was able to get back out into the field, and he was able to complete 43 inspections in the month of February. So that was very good. And we do continue to receive septage from Stanford during their construction. As I mentioned, we did have 2 exceedances for the month, dailies for bacteria and chlorine residual violation. We had a couple of high nitrogen numbers from this process upset. However, because we had some really good numbers earlier in the month, our monthly average was at 595 pounds, which slightly increased our 2021 average to 554 pounds, excuse me. We're still well below where we were this time last year, and with the summer months, we should be tracking in the direction that Ralph was talking about earlier.
Hey, John, can I just say that this was the third all-time best nitrogen for performance for the month of February.
Great. And that was with the poisoning our bugs too. So hopefully it'll be even better going forward. The only another notable, this is typical of annual increases, but we did see a pretty good increase in flow in February. We're up to 16.5 MGD for the daily average, which was up from about 12 or 13 in January and December. But that's not unusual, especially when things are starting to thaw, which we saw. We had a number of significant snowfalls that melted during the month, which contributed to that. And that's all I have for today, unless anyone has any questions.
See none.
All right. Well, excellent. Well, I'm gonna log off then. I'm actually on vacation. I'm heading home, so I'm gonna get back on the road, and I'll see everybody soon.
Thank you,
Thanks
John.
for your report.
Thank
John.
you.
Okay,
Take care.
thanks, Nick.
John, have a
Have a
safe
good night.
trip.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ralph?
All right. Just to mention though, John also has, or the Suez also has the charts, or sorry, the maps of CCTV cleaning and SL-RAT of the gravity means included, and everything is color coded to show the footage that was completed in the month of February of 2021, CCTV total for 2021 year to date, and also CCTV, or whatever it is, TV cleaning or SL-RAT for the calendar year of 2020. So
I don't want to beat a dead horse, but you bring up an interesting point. Would the SL-RAT have caught this problem on Orchard? Do you think?
no,
No?
because that it would have caught it after. Well, it would need to collapse first, or have some
Okay,
kind of
the
debris in
thickness of the pipe wasn't compromised, so it wouldn't have caught it.
Correct. Most
Okay.
likely what happened was, you're right, that the fines were going into the waste stream, and then enough was removed that the asphalt just couldn't support it. It collapsed. So it probably happened in a very short period of time. And we actually, flow assessment was actually in the manhole upstream of that location, doing some monitoring for a future waypoint project, doing flow monitoring. So that was, I want to say, a few months ago, at the end of 2020, and they didn't see anything in the manhole at that time to indicate that there was a concern.
Thanks.
So item 10A, the typical munis report is included in the board package. If anybody has any questions. Otherwise, I'll keep moving along. Item 10B, discussion on WPCA projects. So the collection system, sanitary sewer system rehab, various locations. Due to the weather in February with a lot of the snowstorms, we didn't get a lot of work done, to be honest. Green Mountain was in town doing some pre-measurements and CCTV work. That was basically it. They're just prepping for, they're actually coming in next week on the 22nd to start doing some lining in the Shady Beach area. So they'll be in town again, and then following up with AJ Penna, we have some significant work to do at Witch Lane. So that project, like I said, was kind of slow in the month of February, but we'll start to pick up again. Item 2, collection Belden and Burnell Boulevard Gravity Sewer. I included the invitation for construction. It's actually on the city's purchasing website today. And we anticipate, this is a small project. Basically, it's for a Yankee Doodle garage and the Subway pizza place and transit district office adjacent to the Yankee Doodle garage. Currently, they're all sewered, but the sanitary sewer actually runs through the old parking lot across the street and underneath the Avalon project. And because of that, we don't have, we're limited to what kind of maintenance we can do. And we've had, because of grease and debris, we've had a bunch of backups, not SSOs, just it's a hot spot. So the Suez team is out there at least once every 13 weeks to maintain it. So by building, we found a way basically to tie those laterals into a new gravity line out to Burnell Boulevard, which will give us more pitch and hopefully eliminate the hot spot. Item 3, I did include last month. I did not include the invitation for construction on the comprehensive pump station upgrades project, but it is included in the board package tonight. And basically, we are looking to, March 18th, bids are due. And we're looking to rehabilitate the 5 Mile pump station, Old Trolleyway pump station, Woodward Avenue pump station, and Karen Drive pump station. We anticipate this project to be between $5 and $6 million. And this was designed by, actually the previous project and this project were both designed by Roy Pierce. And, you know, we're going to be looking for their assistance during construction activities. The next item 4, Keeler Brook pump station and force main. That is, we're basically at 100% design. We do have to visit conservation on the new force main to get their approval. But right now we're currently working with Eversource and Barrow Law to obtain a permanent easement for the new pump station.
Eversource is good.
It's
Ah,
slow process.
all right.
Item 5, treatment plant Scada upgrade phase 3 is moving along. We're moving along with Arcadis and Aaron Associates, and that's for enhanced security and mobile application. We've seen multiple screens, and we continue to implement some additional Scada capability at the treatment plant on pumps and other equipment that it's kind of secondary, but it does benefit all the operators to have it on Scada so we can see what's going on when pumps are on, or, you know, what's the flow rate or the wet well level of certain secondary controls. Then item 6, the last thing at the treatment plant right now is electrical infrastructure improvements. What that is, this is basically phase 1. Back in the 1990s, when the aeration system and all the electrical components, mixers, submersible pumps, DO probes, all that electrical was installed below the walkway. And what happens is all that conduit is it's coated metal. And over the years, it's in standing water. Water gets into the conduit, has rusted it, and the wiring. We experience a lot of shorts, is the long story. So what we're doing is we're moving all that infrastructure to above us. We're going to have trusses. It's all going to be overhead, and we'll have a 2-tier setup where you have low voltage and then high voltage. So that's currently, we're at 90% design with Arcadis. And we're just reviewing the 90% submission, and that'll be going out to bid a little bit later this year. Any questions on any of the capital improvement projects? All right. Item C, sewer use bills, appeals and adjustments to date. We're at $29,907. And there's no information copies.
Any questions on anything in here or not in here by anybody? No. Who would like to
Mr.
make
Chairman, I'm sorry, just want, before, I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt the
No,
motion.
please.
But I did want to just take a moment to really commend Chris, Torrey, and Ralph. You know, specifically on the operating budget. I sat with Ralph last week. He went through line by line. You know, this is second and third operating budget now I'm looking at, and a lot of the numbers are provided from finance. You know, for the indirect cost of how much allocation of my time and Ralph's time and Chris's time, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of numbers that we get from finance, but there are also a lot of numbers that are projections too, like the anticipated revenue, the expenditures. So I just, you know, I like to commend Ralph too, because we're able to have a healthy fund balance every year. I mean, we started out with $8.5 million, give or take, you know, and every year we're putting $3 million into that. And the CFO, as Ralph correctly stated earlier, just borrowed about $19 million. And, you know, we have the money to cover the debt services because we want to keep that reserve for an act of God, an unforeseen circumstance. But, you know, enterprise funds, and, you know, Mr. Chairman, from your line of work, that, you know, they can either be built two ways, right? You can either just have enough to cover the expenses in and out, right? Revenue equals expenses, or a good financial planner / engineer could also take a look and say, okay, I don't know how much I'm going to need exactly, but let me just at least build some extra surplus into the model, which isn't wrong to do. That's actually a very good thing, so that if there's a situation where we can't bond, at least we have the cash on hand to complete the improvements, and none of the projects will stall. So the operating budget was done a little bit different this year. And Ralph, the way we had worked it out was the $850,000 that we typically set aside for that's basically a automatic board approval, right, is now off the operating sheet. So you'll notice a slight difference from last year to this year. There was always an $850,000 expenditure, right, Ralph? That was always called out. You're not going to see that anymore, because in theory, we may not spend that $850,000. What that $850,000 represented was an agreement between the prior CFOs and Wpca that basically we can request approval from the board, your board, without having to go to any further city process, whether it was a planning committee or common council. So that's been an arrangement. The CFO is okay with that. If anything changes in the future, obviously you'd be the first to know. But that $850,000 is off because technically we may not spend that money. Now you'll just see the expenses and the revenues. Obviously they equal and they match each other, but you'll see that reserve for financing piece. That $3 million is basically what we're putting into the reserve or into the fund balance after we pay out all the expenditures. And that's for the entire board. So there is a surplus of $3 million. Again, those are projections. Ralph, I think you added 2%. The number you used for the recommended budget, operating budget, was 2% from the prior approved budget in 1920. Is that how you, or was it the same number? And that number was 2%?
I used the same number,
But that number included a 2% escalation, correct?
Yes.
Right. So, you know, we could sit there and split hairs, 2, 3, 4%, but the point is that Ralph's on it. You know, and I have the fortunate opportunity to work with department heads like Ralph and Chris, who basically they get it. They get where we are. They get where we need to be, and everything from the administration down to myself. And you're in good hands. And these agendas take a bit of time to prepare, and there's a lot of backup. And I know sometimes we kind of just try to get through, but you could see there's a lot going on and there's a lot to manage. And Wpca is only a department of 3 people, and they do have support from operations and engineering, which is good. And we're working on getting Ralph that senior engineer. Hopefully someone will bite and we'll have a candidate for you. But Ralph is basically a one-man band with help from Chris and myself. But so I wanted to thank you, Ralph, for the time that you take to prepare the operating budget, and also let the board know that we are looking, we being Public Works and Wpca, we're looking to employ Woodard and Curran, which is one of the 2 consultants that was just retained for on-call engineering services, to look into our existing financial model, which was last prepared by Red Oak, Ralph, right? Which is a sub-consultant of the company you know of as Malcolm Pernier and now Arcadis. So that model, how old, Ralph? Maybe 5 to 8 years old?
Correct.
Okay, so right now Ralph uses a spreadsheet. He works with finance. It looks nice in the end, but it's a little bit of a cumbersome process. So that if the people in finance that actually do this left and Ralph left for some reason, it would be, I'm not going to say the WPCA would stop, but it would be a kind of a hard break for a little while. So we're setting ourselves up to look at a new forecast, a new financial model where both models, so the operating and capital, will basically lay out, okay, if we increase this by 0%, 1%, 2%, what happens with the operating budget? Okay, based on the wastewater treatment plant master plan and the collection system master plan and the pump station master plan, all those 3 different master plans, what can you do, what years, and how much will it cost you? And it's a whole science behind it. But the point is that the forecast and the financial model is old. Myself, Ralph, and Chris a few weeks ago said, you know what, maybe it's time to dust off that old model, bring us to 2021 and have a consultant who specializes in this, one of these areas, take a look at it, update the model. So you'll see that coming as a task order in the next few months. But the point is that you have people who are forward planning and thinking about these things and not just getting used to that same kind of municipal, all right, this is the way we've always done it and everything's fine, so there's no reason to rock the apple cart. I'm a big fan of not breaking something if it's not broken, but sometimes there's also things that just need to be updated. And with Ralph being so busy and Chris being busy and myself, these things tend to be forgotten if they're not sat down and thought upon. So Ralph, thank you for the progressive planning and the thought behind it. You're in good hands with Ralph, Chris, myself. You have nothing to worry about when you go to sleep at night with those gentlemen at the helm.
Except for the 24-inch pipe.
except for Orchard Street and the egg-shaped pipe. Other than that, we're good to go. But you know, we're as progressive as we can be. I've worked in 3 other municipalities. City White Plains was good, but they didn't have all the mapping that we have and a contract operator to go out. And they had their own sewer bureau, but they didn't have all this stuff notated of when we last lined, a map of the city, the color coded what year we did this, all these capital improvements going on. There was nothing of this magnitude. So Ralph, thank you. You manage it all and you manage it well. So we appreciate your efforts.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Here, here. Anybody else? Any other comments?
I do have one more comment. With Brown and Caldwell, our
3 minutes.
consultant, we have flow assessment. Things are moving so quick. Flow assessment came into town, not last week, but the week before. And we've already installed almost, I would say 80-85% of our 40 flow meters throughout the city to do flow monitoring. So we got in early with flow assessment. They're on their own dime for the month of March. We're getting bonus time because really we're only paying for 8 weeks, which is for April and May. So we're getting some extra flow metering time with flow assessment, but all this flow data is going to be collected and then be used as part of updating the hydraulic model for the collection system.
Very nice.
Awesome.
That's 2
Anybody
minutes.
2 minutes left. Anybody else? No? I have lots I want to talk about, but I'm not going to say a word. So. Who wants to make a motion to adjourn? Mr. Igneri. All in favor? Aye. Wynn, Bovee, Ostafine, Terranites, Igneri, Clark, and Keegan. Unanimous, no opposition. Thanks everybody for showing up. It's
Car
really
races
nice.
hand too.
Really nice doing business with you guys. Thanks for showing up. We had a quorum. We were on time. I guess this is going to sail through the Common Council. That was my only other comment. So I'll see you guys in April.
April
Right.
19th.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you
Chairman,
very
members
much.
of the
Good
board,
night.
have a
Have
good
a good
night.
night. Bye-bye.
Stay
Aaron,
safe and
enjoy
healthy.
your vacation.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank-